what's up YouTube? So today I'm going to be installing the Thorton 100 handcrafted twisted exhaust on my 2018 Triumph Bonneville Bobber. And as you saw from the intro, this thing it looks amazing, it looks unique, which is what I was going for. And based on what I've seen on YouTube so far, they sound even better. So I can't wait to get this on my bike. With that being said, grab a beer and let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to obviously do is jack up your bike. I have mine on a rear stand on Paddocks bobbins. However, if you don't have this set up, you could easily use just your basic scissor jack for a motorcycle. Slide it underneath the frame and then lift it up that way. Just a quick note on that, if all you have is a scissor jack, which is totally fine, you can still do this job. Later on down the install, we're going to have to drop out the catalytic converter. And there's not enough space between the frame rail to do that. So we're gonna have to separate just momentarily the frame and drop out the catalytic converter. Your only other option is to cut the catalytic converter out, but for obvious reasons that doesn't leave you the option to either reuse it or reinstall it later on in the future or sell it. So it's not that hard. It's just, I believe it's 5 bolts that you have to undo, separate the frame just to give yourself enough clearance to drop out the catalytic converter between the frame. Just so if you are using a basic scissor jack for your bike, there is a spot towards the rear down here where it's kind of like the sweet spot where to place this scissor jack to lift the rear end of your bike up, so that it gives you enough space to separate your frame. Because for obvious reasons, as you lift the bike up on its frame, all the weight's going to be on there. So that might cause you a little difficulty to separate it. But you'll see towards the back here, there's a little separation between the frame and like the swing arm area. If you place the scissor jack towards the rear of the bike on that little separation point, you should have enough clearance. Either way, at the end of the day, you'll be able to do this job, no problem. I just want to give you the heads up if you're using a scissor jack to move it to the most rear spot of your bike frame. Okay, so obviously step number 1 is removing the OEM stock exhaust, so let's go and get that going now. I'm working on the left side of the bike, and here's the muffler right here. Towards the very rear side of the muffler, about halfway, you're going to see this bolt here. It's a 10 millimeter. Go ahead and zip that off. Okay, that one's off. So now we're just moving our way forward. You're going to see this little guy right here. Go ahead and remove that, and that's going to be a number 5 Allen. So this is kind of a unique setup from Triumph. If you could see here, let me see if I can get a picture of it. There we go. So the pipe comes out of the motor here. It actually goes right here into the catalytic converter, and then pops out right here, and then goes to your muffler. So it's not actually a straight pipe, as this looks kind of deceiving. This piece right here is just a heat shield. It's not actually pipe. So the pipe goes in, comes back out into your muffler. Kind of a unique design by Triumph, but just a little bit more work to take it out. No big deal. So here's that pipe that goes into the catalytic converter on the backside. Right where my finger's pointing, that silver piece right there. Underneath, there's a 10 millimeter bolt. Remove that. Same thing over here towards the front. That's the catalytic converter right there. Right down here is another 10 millimeter clamp for this first pipe that goes into the catalytic converter. So go ahead and remove both those. And since we're down here, just to give us a little bit more extra space, right here is your frame cradle, or the cradle brace, excuse me. This piece here with 4 bolts. I have a new billet one from Thornton, no, not Thornton Hundred, but a billet one that I'm going to replace this with. It's just a little bit more sturdy. But to give us better access to the catalytic converter and those 2 clamps I just mentioned, go ahead and zip these 4 bolts off real quick. Okay, I was able to get it. It's a 10 millimeter ratcheting wrench to get that first bolt. You have to go this side of the pipe, in between the pipe and the frame. You have these flange bolts here, 12 millimeter, one there and one there. And then that's your O2 sensor there. Just be very careful when you're removing this, not to damage the O2 sensor. Those can get kind of costly if you were to damage one. But again, this is a 12 millimeter here. Since I got that first clamp off down there, which leads to this front pipe on, I believe it's the number 1 cylinder. This is called your flange, and then the flange bolts. Again, 12 millimeter. Let's go ahead and zip those off and see if that gives us better clearance once we remove this guy. All right, so we got the 2 flange nuts off. There you go. So just so you know, your flanges are in 2 pieces. That's normal. And they will fall like they just showed. And they only go on one way. Let's see if I can figure that out. Like that. So they go together kind of offset, and there's where your O2 sensor goes there. Don't lose these. You're gonna, if you didn't purchase the nice billet ones, which I'll show you, which I got from Thorton 100, I got some of these nice billet flanges. You will be reusing these with the twisted exhaust to mount it back up to the motor. Additionally, just so you guys know, I don't think I mentioned, but the Thorton 100 exhausts does not utilize the catalytic converter. It completely eliminates it. So you don't have the option of leaving that cat in or using one of those aftermarket X pipes. This exhaust specifically does not use either one. So just so you know, you won't be using any of those. All right, so after I unbolted the header bolt there, excuse me, the flange bolts, and then I was able to get that first clamp off the cat there, this whole piece comes off in one section. Again, I'm holding it suspended so that we don't put any pressure on that O2 sensor wire. I'm going to grab a wrench. I believe that's a 16 millimeter, but I'll confirm in one sec. Okay, I got that off. I was incorrect. It's a 17 millimeter for right here. Again, oxygen sensor, O2 sensor. Just be very gentle with it. Let it just hang there. It's totally fine. Also, too, it was kind of seized on to the pipe where it goes in right here. And I'm sure that's normal because this has 3,000 miles. It's 2018. But just FYI, when you reinstall your oxygen sensor on this thread right here, it doesn't hurt to put just a very small amount of copper anti-seize, and it's to prevent just this seizing up into the exhaust pipe, because obviously this gets really hot, really cold, really hot, really cold. That could seize up on there, and then that would cause you issues later on down the road if you do more maintenance or switch out your exhaust again. Additionally, there is a disposable copper gasket right here. Pull that out. The Thorton 100 Twisted Exhaust kit does come with 2 brand new ones, and anytime you remove your exhaust pipe from your cylinder here, you want to replace this gasket, okay? You don't want any leaks coming out of there. So I'll just get like a flathead. Be really careful not to mar up the inside of this, but remove that gasket, and we'll place a new one in once we I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Once we reinstall the new one, the new pipe, we'll put a new gasket in. Okay, so this is the rear pipe clamp that goes out to the muffler. I was able to get a 1/4 inch ratchet with an extension, 10 millimeter socket, fits right in there, and loosen that one up so you can pull off the rear exhaust. Okay, with both pipe clamps off, as you saw, I already pulled off the front one. This rear one will drop, and you just have to kind of wiggle it out. Wiggle it out from the catalytic converter. Comes right out. So now that that's out of there, you follow it all the way back to this mount here. This is where the muffler actually connected to. This is, I believe, a 10 millimeter. Let me see, that's, sorry, 12 millimeter. Go ahead and zip that off, because this bracket is no longer going to be used because we are no longer using the stock exhaust. So the muffler is gone, so we don't need this bracket. Go ahead and remove that. Okay, so now that we have the left side of the exhaust off, you'll notice that we no longer have a kickstand dampener because that was part of that was connected to the pipe. So if this were to come up, it's going to strike right here on the frame every single time. So although Thorton 100 sells their own proprietary kickstand dampener, this is not included in the kit. This is a separate purchase, and it bolts into these two existing bolts there. They also supplied you with new bolts, and if you'd like, here's the part numbers. And these are actually OEM Triumph parts, so you know you're getting good stuff. But like I said, it goes into these two bolts right there. So I'll zip those off and install this. It already comes pre-Loctite, but I'll add a little bit more Loctite and get this on right there. This is going to be an 8mm. So this is going to be an 8mm, but you're going to need a ratcheting wrench for that one. Let me grab one. There we go. We do have, oh, there's that one. So that one's towards the rear. We do have this wire right here. Just be careful with this wire. Push it back and out of the way. Okay, let's compare. Okay, so these ones, they're the exact same size. And the ones they supplied us are a little bit longer. Only goes on one way, like this, and then as you can see, it stops that. Yeah, way better. Longer one goes in the front. Okay, so I've just discovered that it is easier to get the rear bolt in started first because this frame right here is in the way. So you can't get the front one in first. It has to be the rear bolt goes in first. And then, again, this is the shorter of the two bolts in the rear. But get that one started first. Then you'll have, so you can have clearance for this frame rail. And then you can then install the front bolt. And so now as you can see, so now that the dampener is here, when you close your kickstand, it hits right there. Right there, hits right here. Okay, the other side is just going to be a lot more of the same. You have a bolt back here, 12mm. Moving up forward, there's going to be Allen right here. This is going to be, what was that again? Number 5 Allen right here. Remember, it's going to be a bracket that comes out with that. Also, too, on the other side, I just wanted to show you the old exhaust gasket. Wasn't too bad, but again, 3,700 miles on it. But you definitely want to replace these. As you can see, these get kind of not corroded, but a lot of soot built up on these. And as you torque them down, they crush down to create the seal. So these are not reusable. There you go. Here again, we're going to go ahead and try to zip off the catalytic converter pipe clamps down below. Yeah, this one's going to be a ratcheting wrench, also 10mm. There we go. Okay, now the two pipe clamps are loose and the brackets are off, we should be able to wiggle the first one off. You know what? The heat shield is actually kind of in the way. So what we'll do is zip off the flange bolts so that we can loosen the front off. These style acorn nut style bolt, or nuts rather, acorn nuts I think these are called. You will be reusing these, so do not lose them. You should have 4 total. One, two, three, four. Don't lose those. You will be reusing them. Flanges popped off. Rear comes off. And then That all just kind of fell, but real important that I was holding on to this so that now we're not putting any pressure on that O2 sensor cable. Again, that is going to be a 17 millimeter. Break it free. I'm just holding the O2 sensor and twisting the pipe. There we go, nice and easy. Let it drop. Now you want to be very careful when you remove your old exhaust gasket. I'm just using a basic tiny flathead screwdriver. You don't want to mar the inside of the metal housing. So just be real careful. It shouldn't take a lot of pressure. Yeah, nothing, it just came right out. The other one, the other side, cylinder one, on the left side of the bike was a little bit more stuck, but this came right out. Okay, just give a little wipe. You could even spray a little brake cleaner on your rag just to wipe this. You want a clean surface for the new gasket. And like I said, they provided the new one. Actually, just kidding. Don't forget the rear muffler mount. We're gonna remove that, 12 millimeter. I'm not gonna be reusing it. Set that aside. Now, before obviously putting in the new exhaust, the part of this install that's probably the most challenging, because up to this point so far has been pretty easy, is going to be removing the catalytic converter, right? So as I mentioned, we have to separate the frame momentarily just to give us enough space to clear the the cap, right? Okay, to start, we have a 12 millimeter here. Zip that off. And if you come to the front, again, we remove the cradle brace. There's a bolt right here, 12 millimeter. Zip those two off real quick. Okay, after those two bolts, this one right here and the one back here, right there, this is pretty much free. And then there's a rubber grommet on the right side of the bike that this just pulls out towards the left side of the bike and then drops through. But as you can see, there's like absolutely zero chance this thing is coming out between your frame cradle or the cradle brace mount and the actual frame of the motorcycle. So that's why we actually have to separate these two to create space and just drop this out real quick. Okay, so we're on the left side of the bike. I thought I could do it on the right as far as separating the frame, but because the catalytic converter needs to come to the left side of the bike to clear that rubber grommet, it's best to do it on the left side of the bike. No big deal. So I've already got these two loose. Again, those are the number 8 Allen down here. Number 8 Allen, same as we did on the other side. And this one here is actually a Torx. I didn't have that size. It's bigger than a Torx 50. So I used the same 8 millimeter Allen and it fits. So I'm just gonna be very careful on that because I don't want to strip anything. So again, this is twisting on us, the backside bolt. So I'm going to try to get this. There we go. Cool. So I can do the rest by hand. Okay, as you can see behind there, there was this plate. It goes flat side towards the bolts, and these bolts screw into it like that and pinch the frame rail. Again, just don't lose these. Big bolt there. I'll give you the torque values in a minute as we reassemble. So as you can see, this is completely free now. Let it hang for a sec. That rubber grommet here had to pull out and then it just drops free. This is pretty hefty. This is about 5 pounds you're saving there. So without wasting any time, I'm going to get this frame back in position. Okay, so these two bolts here are going to be 40 Newton meters torque spec. Same with the ones down here. There's two right there. Those are 40 Newton meters as well. And then the big main bolt right here is going to be 105 Newton meters. So let's go ahead and torque those down real quick and we can move on to the install. So 105. And now back this down to 40. Okay, since we're down here, it's a good time to just throw in your cradle brace. Now I removed this kind of the factory kind of steel cheapy one with a more solid billet aluminum one. Comes with brand new hardware as well. So I'm just gonna put these on real quick. It's a number 5 Allen. So on the original one, or the OEM, it had these back plates that these need to screw into like that. And so don't lose these, because you're going to need those to put this back in. So just so you guys know, the left side of the cradle brace, you had that mounting plate for the back side. The right side is welded on, so there was no extra plate that I needed to find. It's already welded on, so there's just the one on the left. So you're going to do this, make sure you don't misplace the one on the left. The one on the right here is welded on. You're good. Now there's no torque value for this one that I could find, so I'm just going to snug it up by hand. There is a heat shield down up in here that we need to remove. That was from the catalytic converter. So obviously it's not heating the bottom side. I guess it's just a basic heat shield. Let's go ahead and remove that and I'll show you which bolts to do. Okay, from the look of it, there's only a bolt here and a bolt there. I'm going to remove those off real quick, and this heat shield should come right out. And it definitely feels like there's another bolt somewhere else right here. There's another one right here on, let me see here, hold on a second. Can you guys see it's right here where I'm pointing? It's just on the other side of this. Another 12 millimeter. There we go. Heat shields out. Right here. There. Sorry if it's not in focus, but there's a hole right here. A bolt that I just removed for the heat shield. You will, I'll show you in a bit, but we're going to install the bottom bracket for the exhaust in that existing hole. Okay, now to the fun part. We're going to be installing the new exhaust. So on the left side of the bike, we have this pipe here that goes and actually passes through the center of the motorcycle down below. But before you do that, a couple things. You want to put the brand new gasket that they provide in. And what's cool about those, let me show you the other one. What's cool about these is that they give you, there's these little tabs on top and the bottom. So as you press it in, those tabs fold in and acts as a tension, and that holds the gasket in proper position. So here we are. I just fed this side of the pipe from the left to the right, and these are the new flanges. Let me just set this here for a second. These are the new flanges that I bought from Thorton 100. These are super nice, billet aluminum, CNC machined. They are really nice. Let me see if I can, there we go. Super nice. And again, they come in 2 halves. They only fit one way, like that. O2 sensor cutout goes on top. Let me show you how this goes on real quick. If you're getting their billet ones, it goes on this side of the flange, not on that side, not in the middle. It goes on the far side. And then obviously there's a cutout for the oxygen sensor to fit right there. Now if you're using your OEM ones, they fit the same, 2-piece. Very carefully feed it through, not to scratch anything. There we go. Okay. Get the bolts on. So just so you know, these are side specific flanges. I was trying to put the right side on the left side, so obviously it wasn't fitting. Remember I told you initially in the beginning of the video, don't lose these bolts. You're going to reuse them. But this you want really loose. Now here's the hard part. So we're going to pre-tension this, hopefully about 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Insert the O2 sensor very carefully. You just want this snug, by the way, too. It's just an oxygen sensor. So, a couple things. Get your O2 sensor on before the flange. And secondly, make sure we're only doing this just a little snug, so we still have a lot of room. As I mentioned, that bottom mounting bracket for the exhaust goes into that one hole underneath where that catalytic converter was. So what you want to do is take, this is what they gave us, put a little Loctite on it, and screw it just hand tight on the bottom of the motorcycle. There's no torque spec for this, it's just going to be hand tight. This nice little billet cap that goes over that rubber grommet, that'll go on, and then you will place the bracket of the bottom of the exhaust, and then it's a 6mm Allen that goes into that. We'll show you that when we get there. And as previously mentioned, I'm going to get the O2 sensor in the exhaust first. Don't forget, new gasket. That would be very important. Right here, the two halves join from the left side to the right side, and they provided this clamp that joins the two together. So you're going to separate this, slide them on together. Remember, both sides are loose, which is important, so that you could get everything fitted. Okay, as we get this on, rotate it so that it looks more smooth up here. That's more of just an aesthetic thing. Hey, what's up guys? I really apologize how the video just cut off. Unfortunately, my camera battery died and I didn't notice it when I was putting the last part of the exhaust on. So let's just do a quick review. So where we left off last was joining the two pipes together right here. As I mentioned, have the round part on top just as an aesthetic look. And then you're going to just use a 1/4" ratchet through here with a 10mm socket and just nip that up hand tight, nice and snug. There's no torque spec for that one. As far as the order of torquing this down, you're gonna torque your flange bolts to 19 Newton meters each, so this side and the left side of the bike. You're gonna go down below to this the bracket that I mentioned, goes to that grommet right here that I was telling you. I believe number 6 Allen underneath. That's gonna be with some Loctite and hand tight, real snug as well, no torque spec. And then lastly, you're going to snug this one down. Again, there's no torque spec for that one. So just right here, you're going to, with an extension like I mentioned, come through the front and reach that 10mm bolt there and snug that up hand tight. The only torque specs for this is going to be the 19 Newton meters for each flange bolt, 2 per side. But other than that, it looks very, very killer. That's the only thing I left out in the video, other than lastly, before starting off or starting up the engine, because obviously that's what you're going to want to do, you have to wipe down everything, the entire system, with some brake cleaner or rubbing alcohol, because any type of grease or hand grease or oils that are on the metal, as it heats up when you fire off the engine, will then burn into the surface of the metal and just mar it up. Again, that's just an aesthetic thing, but you don't want to have permanent marks on your pipes, especially if they're brand new and amazing looking like these are right here. Other than that, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Kind of a lengthy one, but I hope you enjoyed it and found it educational and useful. Leave any comments or questions you have down below, and I'd be happy to help and answer them for you. Thanks, guys, for watching. See you on the next one.